If you want to receive an inch and a half, or 2 inches by the end of September, then shampooing your hair with a hair growth tea that you took from the same ingredients that you created from another DIY concoction is most definitely going to contribute to your desired length. A lot of people create DIY videos, but then turn around and use a store-bought shampoo that is filled with alcohols, parabens, and toxins. And I personally feel like that takes you a step backward. And I know that some people may disagree, but most store-bought shampoos contains various chemical ingredients, some of which can cause harm such as dryness, irritation, or potential long-term health issues like cancer or hormone disruption, depending on the specific chemicals and concentration. Common problematic ingredients include sulfates for lathering, silicones, which can cause buildup, artificial dyes, parabens, alcohols, and other ingredients which may be pretty hard to pronounce that can cause some people allergic reactions. So a few days ago, I created a hair growth detangler spray, which leaves your hair silky, smooth, and moisturized. So since I added a preservative to it, which keeps you from having to refrigerate it, keeps you from having to throw it away after 5 days, then I simply decided to remix it by turning the rest of it into a shampoo. And one of the ingredients that I added in that spray is the Aloe Vera Gel. So I most definitely gotta add it to this shampoo. One thing your girl don't play about when it comes down to herbal sprays, shampoos, and curling custard is her moisturizer agent. So you either gonna see aloe or rose water or both in my DIY video. Next, I have my Castile soap, which can be a natural, versatile, and customizable alternative to commercial shampoos, potentially leaving hair smoother and softer due to its conditioning oils and ability to remove buildup. Here I have my fragrance oil, which is called Rio Rumberry for smell purposes only, and my xanthan gum, which is a natural thickener for DIY hair and skin products. So here I'm using 1 teaspoon of the xanthan gum. And although I talk about xanthan gum in a lot of my other DIY videos, let me go ahead and state that it's a water soluble that helps stabilize formulation, enhancing texture, and provides anti-frizz and conditioning benefits. Next, I'll be adding 1 tablespoon of glycerin, which acts as a wetting agent, preventing the formation of dreaded fish eyes or clumps when the gum is hydrated. But as you'll see a little bit later in the video, that I will still end up with just a few clumps. And that's only because I didn't use a big hand blender. So y'all know how I be telling y'all that measurements really don't count when you are creating these DIYs for yourself. Well, as you can see, I went ahead and grabbed a half of a cup, and now I'm pouring the tea to it. Well, like I stated before, that everybody's hair is different when it comes down to the density and the porosity. So if I was creating a hair growth oil and I added a few herbs but chose castor oil as my carrier oil because I'm dealing with thick, high density, and high porosity hair, then my hair may be able to take that, and also others with the similar hair type. But what about the thin hair people with low density and low porosity hair? Straight castor oil as a carrier oil with added herbs can be too thick for the people with that hair type. And that is also the sole purpose of creating these different DIY. And by the way, that's 1/4 of a cup for the people that will still ask what is the measurements in my comment section. So back to what I was saying, that is the whole purpose of creating them. And I know that all of these concoctions can be very confusing, but just know that they all work. You just have to choose which one or which ones work well for you and your hair. Everybody is not going to have the same exact ingredient. A lot of your stores is not going to sell every exact ingredient, but if it does, then that is good. But if it doesn't, then that is good too. A lot of these ingredients can be substituted, but when you are creating these DIYs for yourself, just know that you pretty much have control over the measurements too. I've been creating DIYs since 2018, and for the first 5 years, I grew my hair to waist length, and there's one of those clumps that I was mentioning earlier. But creating DIYs will work if you work it. So throughout this video, you will see me adding a couple more cups of the tea, only because it's a certain consistency that I wanted to get it to. And that's what I was talking about at first, when it comes down to you getting it to your consistency that you want it to be. So let's just rewind this a little bit back to 2017 when I did the big chop and my hair was growing at a slower rate. My hair stayed in that TWA / teeny weeny afro / what I call the Florida Evans fro. Well, it stayed at that length for a very long time, longer than I could stand it. So I started studying and formulating, and about a year later I created my own hair growth oil. But a lot of people thought that I was going to stop at that, but the whole time I knew that I was going to create an entire hair care line, because what a lot of people don't know is that yes, hair growth oils work. You can clearly see that from other companies that came out with their own hair growth oil. But if you are not establishing an entire hair care system, when it comes down to the oils, creams, moisturizers, sprays, shampoos, and conditioners, then you just may grow back that bald spot. You just may grow back those bald edges. But what about those hair strands? So you mean to tell me that you are only applying oils to your hair strands for the rest of your life? I know. That's impossible. And that is where these other DIYs like this shampoo comes into play. So now I'm about to add a half a cup of the liquid Castile soap. And although I only needed to add it only one time in this DIY creation, but in a lot of my other videos, I have had to add more though. Once I did my little lathering test at the end, you know, when I add the water to my hands and then pour the shampoo just to see how good it lathers. But I've been creating these hair growth shampoos for 7 years now. So I've been divorced those store-bought shampoos along with all of these other store-bought products that a lot of people are still using. And I'm not here to judge, but what I don't understand is a lot of creators will create those hair growth DIYs along with the hair growth oil, but then will still turn around in the midst of that video, shampoo their hair with a store-bought shampoo. And like I said, I'm not here to judge, but I just don't understand it. I mean, you are already creating the DIYs in which you know are natural, but then turn around and still mix your hair with chemicals. I just feel like if you are already taking the time out to do the other things, then why not add everything as your all natural / organic alternative when it comes down to the overall health of your hair. So I'm pretty sure that you noticed that the ingredients started out with a reddish / pinkish color due to the hibiscus flowers, and then all of a sudden turned green after I added the Castile soap. Well, it's because Castile soap can cause other ingredients to turn green, primarily due to the natural color of its olive oil base and due to the chemical reaction between its alkaline ingredients and the chlorophyll in the plants. So Castile soap is safe for using on the hair when diluting it with water, moisturizing liquids, and herbs. Just don't use Castile soap all by itself. But creating DIY hair growth shampoos like these offers you a more personalized way of adding vitamins and nutrients to your hair that it needs. So as you see that it gave me a pretty decent lather. And now it's time for the fragrance. Because what's a DIY if you can't put your own signature smell to it? So I added 1/4 of a teaspoon of the Rio Rumberry Fragrance. And somebody may ask where I purchased it from, but I've had my own hair care line for several years, which is called Heavenly Hair and Skincare Products. I formed an LLC in 2019, and I have an office full of ingredients with faded labels. So here I'm adding 1/4 of a teaspoon of the Germaben Germaben II, which is a preservative, which keeps you from having to refrigerate your DIYs. Because if you're anything like me and you mess around and put it in the refrigerator, then you are going to forget it. And even if you don't forget it, I guarantee you are not going to want to always travel back and forth to that refrigerator just to add the DIYs to your hair. But you don't have to add a preservative if you don't want to. I'm not going to put you in a chokehold and force you to do it. But when you don't add a preservative, that just forces you to discard the product quicker. And if you're anything like me, then you ain't got no money to be flushing down the toilet. I mean, how can you use these products on a consistent basis? And how can you receive the hair growth that you deserve if you are having to throw them away? You are basically defeating the purpose, because once you use it for the first time and you have to place it in the refrigerator, then it's going to take you about 3 to 5 days to even feel like going to the refrigerator or simply just remembering that it's in the refrigerator. And there you have wasted all of that time and all of that hair growth that you could have already received. I'm telling y'all that it's easy to forget once you've made it, no matter how long it took you to create it, no matter how much you paid for the ingredient. Because remember, that saying is so true: out of sight, out of mind. And this hair growth shampoo is too good to be wasted. Y'all ignore the bottle. Although it has my logo on it and it is labeled growth conditioner, just know that I ran out of 8-ounce bottles and I had to use something. But now that I finally got y'all to the shampoo process, here's why I put my hair in plaits in the beginning of this video. Because whenever I shampoo my hair in its loose strands, they always tend to tangle up very badly, mainly in my roots, and I tend to lose a lot of hair, which is not shedded hair, but strands that I could have kept only if I had just plaited my hair up and shampooed it that way. But if you notice that I am taking down each individual braid and I'm applying shampoo all the way down to my end, which remember is perfectly safe whenever you are creating your own DIYs like this hair growth shampoo. But I know a lot of people like to argue about whether it is safe to apply shampoo to your hair strands though. But just know that whenever you are using those store-bought shampoos, then typically it isn't safe. All you're doing is spreading chemicals and alcohols all the way down to your strands. But remember, not with DIY shampoos though. It is perfectly safe, because remember that the herb, moisturizing, and conditioning agents that are in these DIY shampoos most definitely needs to touch your hair strands in order to add nutrients and to strengthen them as well. But like any other shampoo, I usually add the first application, massage it in, rinse it out, then add another application. And when your hair is dirty, usually that first application don't lather up as well. But just know that it's perfectly fine, because I remember back in my relaxed days, you know, when I had a relaxer and when I used to buy those store-bought shampoos, you know, that was way back in the days. I used to wonder why their shampoos wouldn't lather up on the first application until I decided to add a second application. That is when I realized that my hair had to been pretty dirty. And back then, your girl only used to shampoo her hair only on relaxed day. And that is because every time I shampooed my hair, it would mat up like locks. And I used to have to take a rat tail comb and sometimes something skinnier just to detangle my hair. I remember one time it was so bad to where I thought I had to cut all my hair off. But instead, I took a toothpick and started detangling my hair, which took about 4 or 5 hours. And I know that it wasn't safe to do that. But remember that I'm sharing with y'all what I did back in my relaxed days. That was several years ago, and back then I didn't know my hair. But you best believe that when I decided to go natural, I took the time out to learn my hair. And I was never forced to pick up a toothpick ever since then. And plus, how can I relate to y'all if I don't share my old horror stories? But back to the product at hand. I was gonna tell y'all that if you wanted to know about each ingredients that I use and the benefits of it, you know, I was gonna lead y'all back to the video to where I created the hair growth spray. But then I said no, because a lot of people are going to swear that they can't find it, which is actually 3 videos down from this one. For those that don't mind and want to go back and create that spray. But for those that don't and will end up in my comment section asking about all the ingredients that I added, then let me just go ahead and share with y'all why I am shampooing my hair. So I added hibiscus flowers, chamomile flowers, rosemary leaves, the dry ones at that. But if you want to use the ones that are not dried but come straight from the plant, then that is perfectly fine. Aloe Vera Gel, jojoba oil, Germaben II, and a fragrance oil of your choice. So it does not have to be the same fragrance oil that I chose. And as a matter of fact, it don't even have to be a fragrance oil at all. It can be an essential oil if that's what you like. And although essential oils have hair growth benefits as well, I tend to use a fragrance oil majority of the time, only because I just like my DIY concoctions to smell more like a fragrance of my liking. It has no effect if you use it or if you don't use it. And plus, I already have the herbs for my hair growth purpose and my aloe vera gel for my moisturizing and conditioning purpose. Oil for its sealing purposes. And although I chose jojoba oil, which is very similar to human sebum, the natural oil our skin produces, you don't have to use jojoba oil if you don't have it or if you simply just don't want to. But most people will ask, what can you substitute it with? You can basically substitute it with any oil that you want. But if you rather for the consistency to be light, just as like the jojoba oil, then you can always choose sunflower oil, coconut oil, or even safflower oil. Olive oil is pretty much one of those oils that won't weigh your hair down either. But if you know any other oil, like grapeseed oil, or one of your favorites that I haven't mentioned yet, then feel free to add it instead. It is so many oils that I simply do not have the time in this video to even name them all. But I share these DIYs with you just to simply let you see that they all work. Some may be a little bit more potent than others, but they all work. Some you may not like, but they all work. Some may not match your hair density nor your hair porosity, but they all work. So the first important thing is that you all must learn your hair. Second thing is that you can pretty much create these DIYs to your liking. Thirdly is that consistency is most definitely key. Fourthly, everybody's hair isn't the same, but a person with a slower growth rate, a person with a medium growth rate, and a person with a faster growth rate can all reach their desired length, no matter if it's shoulder length, bra strap length, waist length, or even past butt length. But a person with a slow or medium growth rate can keep their hair in the anagen phase, which is the hair growth phase, a little while longer by not only applying DIY hair growth oils, hair growth teas, but definitely by adding a hair growth shampoo, because not only are they filled with hair growth ingredients, but also conditioning and moisturizing ingredients as well. And some may say, what about the conditioners? I noticed that you didn't mention that. Well, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have seen in the stores that you have some shampoos that are labeled shampoo/conditioner, or even says a shampoo and a conditioner in one. Well, that's pretty much the same thing as a DIY hair growth shampoo that is also filled with conditioning agents. So if you want to create a DIY conditioner, then that is perfectly fine. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I've been creating and selling them on my website as well. But this is for the ones that don't have the time to create a conditioner, but could also feel like your hair is not receiving any conditioning benefits. Then I am here to help you push those worries to the side, because whenever I do not have the time to create a DIY conditioner, which pretty much be majority of the time, then I will apply the DIY shampoo and a DIY moisturizing cream when styling. But since I'm pretty much not doing a style in my hair on this video, and all I'm doing is applying a simple ponytail just for the purposes and the sake of this video, because I don't have time to install any plait, mini braids, or mini twists right now. because I'm actually on my way out the door. So I just go ahead and add my DIY hair growth / moisturizing spray that has the same exact ingredients that the shampoo has, and that I created a DIY video on, which is exactly 3 videos down from this one, that I need to go ahead and share some of the benefits of each ingredient for those that don't want to go back and watch the video of the growth spray. So as you know, the hibiscus leaves promotes hair growth, but it also provides amino acids for keratin production, stimulates hair follicles, prevents hair loss, conditions hair to be more healthier and more luscious. It is rich in antioxidants, vitamin C, and other nutrients that nourish the scalp and strands. Plus, it has natural cleansing and moisturizing properties. Chamomile improves blood circulation to the scalp, nourishes hair follicles, and strengthens hair, which promotes a healthier hair growth and potentially reduce hair fall. It also possesses anti-inflammatory and antiseptic properties that can soothe the scalp and clear buildup. Rosemary leaves promotes hair growth by increasing scalp circulation, which delivers more nutrients to the hair follicles, and by blocking the DHT hormone that can shrink them. Jojoba oil supports hair growth by moisturizing the scalp, clearing clogged follicles, and reducing hair breakage. Aloe Vera Gel helps promote hair growth by unclogging follicles, reducing scalp inflammation, and moisturizing the hair and scalp, which also creates a healthy environment for hair to thrive. Germaben II is a preservative for shampoos, hair conditioners, and emulsion products. It minimizes the problems associated with incorporating solid parabens. It dissolves completely in cosmetic formulations and is used to inhibit microbial yeast and mold growth in cosmetics and other personal products. And although some preservatives have a minimum shelf life of 6 months and a maximum of a year, Germaben Plus itself is generally 1 to 2 years when stored in an airtight container at room temperature. So after hearing the benefits of each ingredient, and if you are tired of using those store-bought shampoos that are filled with chemicals, and although you can't see how it's affecting your hair now, then don't be surprised when later down the line you see all the damage that it has caused. But why wait and find out? Create this simple and inexpensive DIY hair growth shampoo. Apply it to your scalp and your hair strands once a week until the end of December. And not only watch your hair grow at a faster rate, but also watch how your dry, brittle hair become more moisturized, and also watch how your strands strengthen. Remember that you need a system for hair care and for hair growth. You need your DIY oils, sprays, creams, and DIY shampoo if you don't want to continue destroying everything that you worked hard for by continuing to add those store-bought shampoos that are filled with poisons. So I hope this video helped you guys out. I will add the ingredients and the measurements for those who just strictly demand those measurements, no matter figuring it out on their own, what measurements and consistency that their personal hair density and porosity needs in order for their hair to thrive. So I hope you all enjoyed this video and how I create each one with my own personal touch. And I also want to say thank you to the people that come in my comment section letting me know how they appreciate the details. And with that alone, I don't mind building my community just from it. Every DIY creator has their own community, and I'm simply here to build mine. So if you would like to become a part of it, then simply click the subscribe button. Like this video if you like it. Comment if you have a question or suggestion. I pretty much try to keep up with responding to everyone, either if it's leaving a comment or simply just clicking the love button. But most importantly, click the bell notification button to where you'll be the first to be notified whenever I upload my next video. You guys have a blessed one and stay tuned for the next one.